Simon Gratz, a merchant of Philadelphia and founder of the town of Gratz, sold a 1-acre lot of land on the west side of North Center Street for $1 to two men named Conrad Fry, who is from Gratz, and George Kissinger of Likens. He sold the lot to them, telling them that they were to use the land to build a house of religious worship. August 14, 1831, a ceremony was held by the early settlers of Gratz, and the cornerstone for the church was laid. However, we'll find out something pretty interesting about the cornerstone later during the interview with Pastor Ritt. The people were extremely happy that they would now have their own place of worship. An address had been prepared for the coming of the new church, but no one knows who had written it. It was written in German and translated into English later. Reverend Calvin Peter Wurr was the man who had translated the address from German to English. Reverend John Nicholas Hemping was the very first reverend here at Simeon. He was a thorough linguist, being master of 6 or 7 languages, and a dedicated pastor. How long have you worked at Simeon?
I have been at Simeon for a little over 20 years, since 1987.
Okay, that's cool. The church is almost 200 years old, but part of it was added on more recently than the other. Could you show that part to us?
Sure. Would you like to go outside?
Yes, that would be great, thanks.
You can see there's 2 different parts of the building here. The older part is the brick that's reddish pinkish color, and that's the sanctuary from 1832. And as you move back this way, the Sunday school and fellowship hall, which was added then in 1960. And they made it to match the sanctuary. The sanctuary at that time had stucco over the brick, so it was white. So they made the back part white to match it.
Well, I didn't know that.
But then they took it off. So now it doesn't match anymore.
I never knew that. That's pretty cool.
Yeah.
Okay. When you first started working at Simeon, what do you remember most about the church, like architectural-wise, if that's a word?
Architectural-wise is a word, and I remember we drove up, and I thought it was a very beautiful and impressive building from the outside, well preserved. I knew it was an old building, and when I went inside, the balcony goes all the way around 3 sides, and the pulpit is like up in the air, almost up to the heights of the balcony. So that was quite different and quite impressive.
Do you want to show that to us quick?
Sure can.
Okay, thanks.
We're inside now, and you can see what I was talking about with the balcony that stretches all the way around 3 sides of the sanctuary. And it is used. In fact, quite a lot of people prefer to sit in the balcony on Sunday morning rather than downstairs. There's a little more room for their knees, and so they often fill the balcony before they sit downstairs. And if you look at the pulpit, you can see that it is a large, high pulpit with stairs on either side, which is unusual and is a high pulpit. Sometimes guests who come here to preach are quite surprised how high up in the air they are when they go into the pulpit. So it's a lovely church. It has a painting from about 100 years after the church was built. I think the painting of Jesus was added maybe closer to 1932. But it's kept up nicely by the congregation.
Do you know the name of the person who painted that picture?
Well, there's a name on the painting, but we've Googled him and tried to find out who he is, but nothing comes up. So that's still a mystery to be solved.
That's pretty neat. Okay, one last question. On August 14th, 1831, the cornerstone of the church was laid. Can you show us where that cornerstone is?
Well, I'd like to show you the cornerstone, but when we had an anniversary a few years ago, we tried to locate the cornerstone, and surprisingly enough, it's missing.
Really?
One would think it would be on the corner of the building, but it doesn't seem to be there that we've been able to discover. There is a stone in part of the newer section of the building that has some dates on it, but we don't, it's the original cornerstone. But I'd be happy to show that to you.
That would be really great, thanks. Okay.
And the stone that I was referring to is set here under the porch of the new section, and I don't doubt that it's the original 1832 cornerstone, but it does say 1832 and then 1960 for the new section of the building, the newer section here. So that's about all that we have of that cornerstone.
Just that one little block.
That's it.
Okay, well thank you, Pastor Rich. It was really great to talk to you today.
Well, thank you, Victoria.
Want to wave bye to the camera?
Goodbye, everybody.
The right side of the church, you can see the stained glass windows here. They were replaced only once ever since the church has been built, which is pretty amazing if you ask me. They've lasted a really long time. This entire building has lasted a really long time. A little less than 200 years, which is, again, pretty amazing to me. You can also see the new part of the church over here, the Sunday school building. This is the cemetery for Simeon. This here is the right side. There's a giant bush in my way. And over here is the left side. Way over there, there's a lot more land where there are more tombstones, but we won't go over there right now. The right side is where most of the older tombstones are set. Most of them are made out of limestone, so a lot of them are barely readable. This one looks like it dates to about 1868, I think that says. Like I said, some of them are hardly readable, which just goes to show how old this cemetery is. I just saw one over here. Here's a good one. A lot of the tombstones are in bad condition, the really old ones. They're damaged, broken, because they're so old and because they're made from limestone, which isn't all that sturdy for lasting so long. Here you can see that one of the tombstones was had to be held back together with metal things. Again, it shows that these tombstones, some of them are in poor condition, but there's not much we can do about that because they're so old, they're basically unrepairable. It's one more example of a really old tombstone. This one, there pretty much is nothing left of it, just a few pieces and a large tree stump in the way. This one, I couldn't say what happened to it. It probably got destroyed. Whether, I have a feeling that maybe that tree that used to be there had something to do with it as well. So, in the cemetery, a lot of military men were buried here. This man's name was Franklin M. And if you look out through the cemetery, you can see there are flags dotted everywhere, here and there. Hang on. There's one. There's another. And you can see them fluttering throughout the cemetery way over in the distance. is the Sunday school room area. This is the new part of the church. You see it's pretty good condition. Right there's the attic, which we probably won't get to see. It's very dirty up there right now. This is what one of the Sunday school rooms looks like. This is the first grade room. This is also where our church has Little Hands Nursery School. So I'll just give you a good look around here. Throughout the years, new paint jobs have been given to the church, as well as new stained glass windows. New glass lights replaced the oil lamps, and a metal ceiling was placed over the old ceiling in the church's sanctuary. The inside walls were frescoed, and new shingles replaced the old slate roof. The bell for the church was purchased in 1904 from the Buckeye Bell Foundry at Cincinnati, Ohio. It weighed 649 pounds and was placed in the steeple on September 4th, 1904, and dedicated on October 29th. Last but certainly not least, on April 12, 1907, Simeon dedicated their new pipe organ. The organ cost $15,000 and was later rebuilt in 1928 and electrified.